The J. Haplotype. January 12, 2020 by Anna von Reitz. In the article just published entitled, For the Sake of Peace, I discussed the three primary elder races from which the current Homo sapiens, or as I should say, Homo sapiens species, are derived, because there are two extant species, both called generally Homo sapiens. This is the same kind of deceit we have with judges and justices, both being spoken of as judges, but actually being different offices. Homo sapiens and Homo sapiens sapiens are two different species, both being called Homo sapiens. If you study biological science, and especially if you study embryology and histology as I have, you will eventually find this out. If you study law, especially law concerning probate and identity theft, you will discover the same thing. There are literally two species of Homo sapien and they are related to each other by the same maternal mitochondria going all the way back to, you guessed it, Eve. The first and elder species is simply called Homo sapien and the younger model offshoot is called Homo sapien sapien. Homo sapien is also called man and Homo sapien sapien is called human and together they are called mankind. All Homo sapiens as a class are descended to a greater or lesser extent from the angels, the reptilian super-warriors who were bred by the all-seeing scientist priests of the Sirius B star system to fight off other reptilian invaders from the Orion and Draco star systems during the war in heaven. So, naturally enough, we all have reptilian DNA. Homo sapiens simply has more of it than Homo sapiens sapiens. The difference shows up genetically as the J haplotype and as differences in skull structure. The older model Homo sapiens have a severe reproductive glitch. Almost all Homo sapiens females died when giving birth, compared to 25% of Homo sapiens sapiens. The problem is caused by the longer gestation period 11 months and especially by the large, elongated, two-plate skull structure of Homo sapiens, which doesn't allow for natural passage through the birth canal. By the time caesarean section arrived to save the day and prolong the genotype, the population of Homo sapiens, what we call the Nazca or Neanderthals, had largely disappeared and been replaced by the smaller, more fecund Homo sapiens sapiens. But just as they had a major reproductive problem, the original Homo sapiens also had a big advantage. They were and are much longer lived than Homo sapiens sapiens, and they have physically larger craniums and brain capacities a third to one-half more brain capacity. They are also immensely strong, largely built, with thicker diaphragms, more lung capacity, denser bones, bluer blood that coagulates more quickly, more digits typically 6, and multiple sets of teeth. A true Homo sapien can regrow teeth just like a shark and live 500 to 600 years on average. So not only do they have a much longer lifespan in which to accrue knowledge, they have greater brain storage capacity to match. However, as with penile structures, size doesn't necessarily matter. They still have to make the right choices to benefit themselves or anyone else from their longer lives and larger brains, and that they have often, and spectacularly failed to do. Like their smaller and newer model half-brothers, Homo sapiens tend to waste their lives on sex, drugs, booze, and whatever other thrills they can get. If anything, they are even more secretive, arrogant, and perverse than Homo sapiens sapiens. Like us, they tend to waste their inherent brain power on unworthy topics, like how to delude and better profit from the labor and subjugation of others, instead of making the effort to better themselves or the rest of mankind. There are some exceptions to the rule. There have been some great teachers and kindly hearts among the original Homo sapiens, but their efforts and aspirations for mankind have largely been undermined by the greed and rapaciousness of their brethren. Homo sapiens sapiens by contrast live a maximum of around 120 to 30 years at the present time, get only one set of permanent teeth, and make do with their smaller brains by developing more nerve synapses and connections between the right and left hemispheres of the brain. In recent decades, the effort to preserve the Homo sapiens species has led to genetic manipulation to shorten the length of their natural gestation period and otherwise compensate to allow female Homo sapiens to survive childbirth without undergoing caesarean section. To put it bluntly, more recent, less emotionally evolved Homo sapiens have developed the whole system of religion and laws deriving from religion as a means to control and exploit Homo sapiens sapiens. They have used both religion and law as a means to cheat and oppress Homo sapiens sapiens and to provide themselves and their servants with very luxurious lifestyles, political power and whatever else. Now, with the chance to reproduce without restriction, they see little reason to keep Homo sapiens sapiens around as anything but slaves, and they don't need 7 billion slaves. Their computational abilities and relatively few connections between the left and right hemispheres of the brain are both traits that lead them to make decisions by the numbers and to discount emotional and moral concerns. If a small lie serves their ends, they see no reason not to try a bigger lie, and a bigger lie and a bigger lie. In fact, it is something of a game with them to see how much they can get away with. They take wagers on such things and take these wagers seriously, too. Brain power and brute strength, yes, moral values, conscience, and emotional content, not so much. So, yes, Virginia, there are so-called coneheads in the Vatican and in Buckingham Palace and elsewhere, too. That's who they are and where they come from and why they are here and how they are related to us and the highlights of their strengths and weaknesses. I might add, that also like us, there are good and bad individuals among them, those who are more evolved and those who are not. Many of Homo sapiens are deeply hurt and offended by our failure to appreciate the beauty of their elongated skulls and by our ignorant supposition that Neanderthals were, or are less intelligent. The few who are left have made enough of their gifts to rule the world by guile and deceit, even if they could not prevail at arms. Generations of Homo sapiens sapiens have been enslaved and billions have been induced to slaughter themselves in senseless wars based on false premises, false flags, and simple, if large, lies. And there are those who make the argument that we are too stupid to live. This, then, is the source of our angelic, reptilian, heritage and how it has resulted in two species, man and human, making up mankind. And now, we go to the Pleiades and the children of men, more ancestors of Homo sapiens sapiens, who have progressed on their own pathway since they made up the merchant caste here on Earth. The children of men descend from the angels, too, and have their own ancestry as descendants of a particular angel named men. For whatever reasons, the genetic content he passed along was of a gentler, more refined, more Terran as in terrapin reptilian nature, with the result that the Pleiadians have not struggled and stumbled over their reptilian ancestry to the same extent we have. The Pleiadian genetic quotient makes up a third of our genetic heritage more or less. It's from them that we inherit our cultural and group instincts, our family units, our bargaining and trading traditions, our sociability, our ability to work in teams and our basic sense of justice. Thus, not only do we have two reptilian species derived from the same root ancestry and existing as man and human, Homo sapiens and Homo sapiens sapiens, we also have a good dollop of additional, other, different source reptilian genetic content from our ancestor, men. The confusion between man, men, and human has existed since very ancient times. I think of it as snake genes, turtle genes, and snake-turtle genes respectively, just to keep it straight, and all of this inheritance comes down to us from the angels, the seraphs, both those fallen and those loyal, who were, and are, great reptilian warriors bred by the all-seeing, first in the Sirius B star system, and later, in the Orion star system. This is your human heritage, though admitting your debts to reptilian bloodlines may not be comfortable or pleasant to contemplate, it is nonetheless the truth, and we wouldn't be here or be what we are, for better or worse, without them. So being descended from the angels doesn't quite mean what we thought it meant. Being men doesn't mean what we thought it meant, either. And we can more clearly see the sources of our warlike impulses, our competitiveness, our either-or thinking, our hardness of heart, our misuse of our intelligence as a weapon, and our lack of emotional wholeness that stems from not having enough connections between the right and left hemispheres of our brain. Once you consciously see this, you can make other choices. From knowing yourself and knowing your actual history, you can come to grips with the things that seem natural to you, but which are actually the result of purposeful genetic engineering that took place on distant planets eons ago. And you can make conscious correction. You can teach yourself to use your reptilian strength and intelligence for good. You can consciously create more connections between the hemispheres of your brain and regain your emotional connectivity. You can expand your repertoire of thinking patterns far beyond either, or. Despite everything, you can humble yourself and open your heart and be healed. You can ask for help, and then all you have to do is accept it when it comes. The war in heaven ended long ago. The founders, the Pleiadians, the great dragon lords, and the all-seeing have gathered to end the last vestiges of it, here on Earth. So what about the wild card? Your inheritance from the all-seeing? The all-seeing are not reptilian at all. They are warm-blooded as we are, and they appear to be comely men, who serve the Almighty and true God, our beloved Creator. To them is granted the gift to see the past and the future, to know what is good and what is bad, to be able to heal what is seen and what is unseen, to nurture and to understand and to be complete and whole within the greater whole of creation. They are given the peace of the true God which passes our understanding. The all-seeing are known as the wise, but the liars also call themselves the wise, in the sense of getting wise and wise guys. The all-seeing cannot be fooled by the lies and con games of the liars. They see through falsehood as easily as looking through a pane of glass, straight to the heart of the truth. They act from that truth, and their deeds are mighty. Their renown lives in all times and places, and they are called the sons of God. They gift you with your passion and high emotions, your understanding of words and your inborn sense of conscience and justice. They give you your power of true imagination, and the ability to weld thought and feeling into fact. As the true God is the wisdom and the wellspring, they make themselves the fountain, and pour forth their Father's glory. This is your inheritance from them. Use their gifts and powers to reimagine yourself and your world, not according to the lies and false presumptions of those having an interest in promoting themselves through your demise, but according to the image and will and majesty of our Father in heaven. Homo sapiens sapiens might appear to be a small and insignificant creature, weak and short-lived and foolish, easy to deceive, easy to kill, vain, often insensitive, prone to selfishness, stiff-necked, noisy, and they create a lot of trash. What can I say? Our Father has a great sense of humor. To us, unworthy and confused as we are, has been given a destiny of great glory and honor, a destiny that others are more aware of than we are, and which they covet and some would seek to destroy. Hold fast to your inheritance from the all-seeing. Turn on your Shinola sensors and peg them on high so that when the liars come, you will know the truth. When they want you to hate, turn away from their speech. When they want you to fear, shut your ears. Turn your face away from their distractions, deceits, and sideshow entertainments. Heal. Let go. Accept. Ask for help. And keep your eye on the ball. Your destiny is different than theirs, by the grace of God. And your inheritance is certain. Please consider making a small donation to help support Anna von Reitz and the Living Law Firm, by visiting annavonreitz.com and click on the donate button.